So we're going to talk right now about some of the varieties that performed well or have a good agronomic fit for central Kansas. So Romeo, what do we look for in these types of varieties?
Yeah, it's important to remember that a grower who is selecting a variety for central Kansas is going to have a very different mindset for that grower in western Kansas and looking for different agronomic and disease attributes on those varieties. For central Kansas, growers are usually looking for acid soil tolerance. That can be a pretty big concern there. They're also looking for, in south central Kansas, a medium to medium early maturity, whereas as we go to north central Kansas, it's not as important anymore because a longer growing season that we have there. Usually straw strength is something that growers throughout the state are looking for, but especially in central Kansas because of greater amount of precipitation that we have out there, right? And so those are the main agronomic things that growers are looking for in varieties in central Kansas. But of course, disease attributes are also quite important in this part of the state.
Yeah, absolutely. So diseases, like Romeo mentioned, really important in central Kansas. And one of the top that we think about is soil-borne mosaic virus. So it's important to find a variety that has resistance to soil-borne mosaic. It's also important to think about some of the foliar diseases because we do get more moisture in this part of the state. So the rusts, leaf rust and stripe rust, it's important to look at those resistance packages. And also tan spot, septoria, Staganospora, blotch. Those foliar diseases can really be yield biters. It's also important to think about Fusarium head blight tolerance, particularly in fields that are weed after corn. So those are just the key disease traits that we really want to look for in varieties. If varieties don't have those foliar fungal diseases, it might be a region where we would consider applying a fungicide to really get the most out of a variety, yield-wise. So what are the varieties that performed well this year and maybe are very popular in this region?
Yeah, so whenever we talk about performance of these different varieties, it's important to remember, Kelsey, that just looking at one year can be a little bit misleading, sure, right? Because this year was completely different from last year, which was completely different from the year before. So we always suggest that growers should look for the variety trial results from regions around them, not only one, not only the closest, but really the regions surrounding them, and look at 2 or 3 years in a row to see which varieties are performing quite well. Right, so if we look at this for the last few years here in south central Kansas, for example, a few of the varieties that have been performing quite well are Bob Dole. Recently here we also have Rockstar performing quite well. West Bread has 2 varieties, 4269 and 4699, that have been performing quite well as well in that south central part of the state. SY Monument and Zenda are other options that growers have in south central Kansas that are yielding quite well and have good agronomics as well. Moving to north central Kansas, we have a few other varieties, perhaps with longer maturity, also yielding well. For example, LCS Chrome, LCS Valiant, an older one, WB Grainfield, that yielded quite well as well. A few, perhaps WB 4595 to take a look at, although I think it's more of a western variety. SY Rugged did quite well this year as well, although again, probably more of a western variety. So those are some of the considerations when selecting a wheat variety. And remember, this performance, they change year with year, so make sure that you check the variety performance test results from K-State for those results closest to you.